It really feels like the buzz around AI isn't slowing down, is it? It's creeping into more and more corners of our professional lives.
Definitely. And while we've heard a lot about, creative fields,
Right.
today we're looking at something specific in tech. Can AI actually build websites straight from design files?
Yeah, that sounds almost too good to be true, honestly.
It's a compelling idea, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it tackles a really practical step in web development, that translation of visual design into, well, code.
Exactly. And that's what caught our eye. We found this article detailing a real world test drive. They used GitHub Copilot with something called Figma MCP server.
Uh-huh.
And the goal was pretty simple. Feed it a Figma design, see if it spits out a functional website, HTML, CSS, images,
Yeah.
the whole nine yards.
Right. The article, GitHub Copilot plus Figma MCP Server AI.
Yeah.
It documents that whole hands-on process.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you listening, our mission today is really to dissect this experiment. We want to figure out what's actually possible now with this AI approach.
Yeah, what are the limits? What does it mean for efficiency and maybe, for front-end developers themselves?
Exactly. Let's get into it.
Okay, so diving into the experiment itself, what was the main objective? It wasn't just theory, right?
No, not at all.
Yeah.
The core aim was practical. Could AI genuinely take a Figma design, which is super popular for UI UX designers?
Yeah, everyone uses it.
Pretty much. Could it automatically generate the actual front-end code needed to make that design show up correctly in a web browser?
So real code from a picture, essentially.
Basically, yeah. A visual blueprint turned into functional code.
And what did they need? What were the ingredients for this?
Okay, so there were several key pieces. First, this thing called File System MCP Server.
Okay.
Think of it like a way for the AI agent to actually read and write files on the computer.
Right, interacts with the local system.
Exactly. Then Figma Context MCP. That acts as a bridge connecting Figma itself to this MCP setup. They used a public Figma design, responsive landing page design. So nothing too secret or overly complex.
Good to know.
Then, of course, GitHub Copilot. Critically, the paid version, because they needed its agent mode.
Ah, okay, the paid tier feature.
Yep. And finally, VS Code is the editor and the Figma desktop application. That last one is actually pretty crucial for a specific step.
Interesting. Okay, so getting all that stuff talking to each other sounds like it might take some effort. What were the main setup steps?
You're right. It wasn't just plug and play. First step,
Uh-huh.
getting a Figma personal access token.
A token, like a password.
Sort of, yeah. And the article stresses you have to get this from the settings inside the Figma desktop app, not the web version.
Okay, note taken. Desktop app for the token. What's next?
Then, installing that file system MCP server inside VS Code. There's a specific command for it, MCP OK, and you install an NPM package. Think of it like a ready-made tool called 8-Map Model Context Protocol Server File System. And importantly, there's a big security warning mentioned. Don't give it access to your whole computer, your root directory.
Yeah, that sounds wise.
Definitely. Create a specific folder just for this to limit what it can touch.
Makes sense. So the file handling is set up securely. How does Figma actually connect then?
That's where the Figma MCP part comes in. You configure it by adding some details into a specific VS Code file, settings.json.
Ah, the settings file.
Exactly. And that's where you put the Figma access token you got earlier. That basically links your Figma account to this whole setup in VS Code.
Right, so now Copilot, through MCP, can actually see the Figma stuff. What about pointing it to the right design?
That's the final key setup piece. And again, the article emphasizes, use the Figma desktop app.
The desktop app again?
Yep. You right-click on the specific part of the design you want the AI to build, maybe a section or the whole frame, and choose Copy Link to Selection.
Ah, so it's a very specific link.
Extremely specific. That's the link MCP understands.
Okay, the stage is set, tools installed, tokens ready, specific design link copied. How did they actually kick off the AI coding part?
Right. This is where GitHub Copilot's agent mode comes in the paid feature we mentioned. Inside VS Code, you switch Copilot over to this mode, which they call Auto in the article.
Okay.
And then it's surprisingly simple. You just paste that special Figma design link you copied directly into the Copilot chat or prompt area.
Just paste the link, and it goes.
Pretty much starts the process, yeah.
Yeah.
It's not instant magic, but it's direct.
Yeah.
After you paste the link, Copilot, using the MCP connection,
Right.
it starts analyzing that specific part of the Figma design. The article does mention you'll get some authorization prompts you need to.
Okay, makes sense. Permissions.
Yeah, allowing Copilot to access and process it. Once you approve those, it gets to work generating the HTML, the CSS, and grabbing the images it needs.
Now, I remember seeing something about a specific instruction they gave it for images. What was that about?
Ah, yes, good catch. That's a really practical detail from their experience. They added a specific line to the prompt, PNG,
Which means,
convert all image files to P.
okay, why PNG specifically?
Because apparently during their test, someone named August mentioned this, they ran into a lot of trouble with SVG images.
Oh, like what?
They'd fail to download, or take forever, or just end up broken. So telling Copilot up front to just use PNGs seemed to bypass those problems.
Huh. That's a neat little real-world workaround. Okay, so Copilot does its thing, generates the files. What did the result actually look like? Was it usable?
Well, they helpfully provided links so you can see for yourself. There's a live demo page.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's letswritedo.github.io/Figma context MCP, and the actual code is on GitHub too in the same repository under the docs folder.
Okay, and what was their verdict? How close was the AI's output to the original Figma design?
Their summary was pretty grounded. They said roughly translated. Apart from some strange images, it's generally normal.
Generally normal.
Okay.
So, not perfect.
Not perfect, no. Especially some images looked a bit weird. But the overall structure, the layout, it was recognizably based on the design. And their conclusion was that, yeah, a front-end developer could take that output, clean it up, make adjustments, and actually use it as a starting point for a real web page.
Okay, so a functional foundation maybe, but needs work. What are the big takeaways then? Where does this leave us thinking about AI and front end?
Well, a few things stand out. First, they acknowledge the output has quirks, looks strange in places.
Right.
But they also emphasize how incredibly fast AI is progressing. I mean, think about how recently tools like ChatGPT exploded onto the scene.
That's true, the pace is wild.
So the key takeaway isn't perfection now, it's the rapid trajectory. It's generating a usable base incredibly quickly. That shift from thinking replacement to thinking rapid prototyping seems really important.
Right, acceleration, not necessarily perfection yet.
Yeah.
But the million-dollar question, especially for developers, is AI coming for their jobs? What did the article suggest?
It offered a more nuanced perspective, thankfully. It stressed that front-end development is way more than just coding the layout you see.
Yeah, there's a lot more involved.
Exactly. A developer needs to understand the client's actual needs, talk effectively with designers, project managers.
Communication skills.
Huge. And crucially, integrating the front end with the back end systems, dealing with APIs, data, that requires human experience and problem-solving AI isn't quite ready for.
So it's less about replacement, more like an assistant?
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the article uses the term AI like a personal assistant.
Yeah.
It can do the initial grunt work, the heavy lifting of getting the basic structure down from the design.
Which could save a lot of time, potentially?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
And it gives you something concrete to show clients or discuss internally much faster. You can visualize and iterate quicker. And that MCP thing we talked about.
Yeah.
That's kind of the translator, the communication layer, letting Copilot understand Figma through your local setup.
I like that personal assistant idea. It feels more collaborative. Didn't they use another analogy too?
They did, yeah. Copilot, a copilot.
A co-pilot, right. Reinforces that idea of working alongside the AI, not being replaced by it.
Exactly. But there's a condition. A pretty important one for this AI approach to be truly effective.
Oh, what's the catch?
The author points out, kind of amusingly with the XD face, that Yoshua clients need to know exactly what they want.
Ah, clear requirements. Always the challenge.
Always. If the requirements are fuzzy or keep changing, well, tweaking the AI's output constantly might actually be slower than a developer just building it right the first time.
That makes total sense. AI needs clear instructions. So, okay, wrapping this up, what's the core message we should take from this deep dive?
I think the main point is AI is making significant strides in automating parts of front-end work, like this design-to-code task. This experiment shows that clearly.
But it's not the whole story.
Not yet. It's a tool. It offers speed, helps with initial prototyping, but it's not a complete replacement for human skill, judgment, communication, and the ability to handle complex real-world project needs.
Right. So it's a powerful accelerator, maybe a foundation builder, but humans are still needed for the refinement, the integration, the tricky bits.
That seems to be the state of play right now.
Okay, so thinking ahead. This leaves a really interesting question for you, the listener. How are these tools evolving so fast going to change the actual workflows, the needed skills for designers, PMs, developers? What new ways of working might emerge when you mix human creativity with this kind of AI assistance?
It's definitely something to mull over. How might you leverage something like this?
Absolutely. And if you want to see the actual output from this experiment, dig into the code yourself. Definitely check out those links we mentioned. They'll be in the show notes.